I'm Vasif Naqvi. I'm working as a senior research associate with the Sustainable Development Policy Institute. Uh, First of all, I would go through the premise of today's discussion, and today's panel is tobacco control in Pakistan, challenges and opportunities going beyond pandemic. So, as per WHO, tobacco is the single largest cause of preventable death across the globe, killing around 8 million annually, and more than 80% of the tobacco users, which are around 1.3 million, live in low and middle income countries. Pakistan is one of the top 10 low middle income countries which has the highest prevalence of tobacco usage. COVID-19 has added to the enormity of the health challenges and affected the dwindling health system across the globe. The the problems, in fact, related to the tobacco usage and non-smoking products in Pakistan have also been complicated by absence of comprehensive tobacco control policy and a sudden rise in the usage of next generation tobacco products. Although government has implemented the much awaited track and trace system to monitor the production and consumption of many products, including tobacco packs. So foregoing in view, this panel would deliberate upon how has COVID-19 impacted the tobacco consumption and appetite during and beyond pandemic. What are the implications and implementation of track and trace system in tobacco domain, and how can this be made more effective? Number three is that how can Framework Convention for Tobacco Control, FCTC, empower measures can be made more effective so Pakistan can meet its international treaty obligations. And number fourth is that how can the spread of NGPs be reduced, and what is the way forward in regulation of these products in Pakistan? I would briefly touch upon the introduction for the honorable panelist. The galaxy of panel includes Dr. Minhajul Siraj, who is the guest of honor for today's panel. He's associated with Health Services Academy. He remained Deputy Director General for Tobacco Control Cell of the Ministry of National Health Services Regulations and Coordination, Government of Pakistan, and he retired as Joint Executive Director, PIMS. Dr. Minhaj has also done MSc in Public Health, and earlier he did MBBS from Ayub Medical College, Ahmedabad. Thank you very much for joining us. On my left-hand side is Mr. Asif Iqbal. He has joined all the way from Karachi. He is the Managing Director, SPDC Karachi. He has worked on a variety of aspects of governance, public finance, and social service delivery. His recent work focuses on SDGs, tobacco taxation, public finance, decentralization in the federal system of Pakistan, and its consequences for public delivery on basic social services. He has been member of the steering committee of Center for Research on Poverty and Income Distribution, Government of Pakistan. He will today be discussing the track and trace systems implication and implementation. Mr. Wasim Iftikhar Janjua is a PhD scholar at NUST. Besides his numerous publications on peace and stability, he is among a few scholars working on critical discourse analysis all across the globe. So he also has earned a gold medal from National Defense University. He loves to teach and has been associated with more than 4 educational institutions, including NUST and Beria University. We are joined by Dr. Sahana Sethia Hagde from India. Dr. Sahana is professor and head Department of Public Health Dentistry at D.Y. Patel Dental College and Hospital, Pune. She has 25 years of teaching experience. On the research front, she has numerous publications to her credit, with nearly 20 research projects on tobacco-related epidemiology, e-cigarettes, and power for tobacco control. Thank you very much, Dr. Sana. She has joined us online. We also have Ms. Zara Grigorian, and she is a research associate at the School of Public Health at the American University of Armenia. Her background is in pharmaceutical chemistry and she holds a public health degree. Her primary research interests include lung health. For the past several years, she was involved in tuberculosis and tobacco research, focusing on quality of TB care, integrating tobacco dependence treatment services into routine TB treatment, establishing smoke-free environments in communities. We have also joined by Ms. Dania Farah. She's MS economist. She is MS economics student at Institute of Business Administration, Karachi. She has completed her coursework and has written a dissertation on smokeless tobacco, economic and environmental cost, a case study, given her interest in behavioral economics. So without wasting much of time, I would like to request Mr. Wasim Iftikhar Janjua to give agenda setting presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Wasif. And I'm really grateful to all our panelists from Pakistan as well as from across the globe for joining us today. So basically, I'll touch upon the STPI's work that we are doing on tobacco control. For the past almost 4 years, STPI has been involved in tobacco control projects. The first one was warning on tobacco products, capacity building within the legislative framework. And currently, STPI is working on supporting the government of Pakistan in establishing policy direction aligned with Empower on smokeless tobacco control, graphic health warning, and new novel products, facilitating implementation of tobacco control laws in post-COVID-19 environment. So basically, when looking at the larger agenda of this conference, we are an important facets of our work is on the new novel products. And I realized that, can you play the slides, please? I realized that one of the very important products that was launched by Pakistan Tobacco Company, which is a subsidiary of British American Tobacco, that was the tobacco-free nicotine pouches named Velo. So I'll be, in today's presentation, I'll be talking about that Velo product. Next slide. Some of these products which are nicotine products but are claimed to be tobacco-free. Almost each company is producing these products. For example, BAT, they're producing Lift and Velo. Similarly, Imperial Tobacco has their products. Japan Tobacco, they have their products, and Altria, which is the owner of the Marlboro, also they are producing this one. But in Pakistan, only one product was launched by the tobacco industry, which is shown here as Velo. Next slide. So tobacco-free nicotine pouches were introduced in Pakistan during December of 2019. Actually, I went back and researched that they actually started talking about it on the social media during October of 2019. And then, but it was officially launched during December of 2019. They launched two flavors. The one is Polar Mint and the other one is Berry Frost. And they have 3 different levels of intensity, depending upon how much nicotine punch do you want. They launched Max, Strong, and Medium. The product is easily available across the Pakistan, and no one is asking for the identity when we are looking at the sales of these products. Few words about the product design and abuse liability. The plastic container has 20 pouches, each weighing 0.7 grams. Which are tea bag shaped, and they include water, eucalyptus and pine tree, cellulose, fiber, salt, xylitol, sucralose, nicotine, acidity regulator, flavors, binding agents, and humectant. In comparison to the other smokeless tobacco products, nicotine pouches have no tobacco leaf. They are relatively low on nitrosamines and other additives, which are addictive. Certainly, they are addictive in nature, and nicotine could also cause cancer. Tobacco-free nicotine pouches, well, Velo is the only variant available in Pakistan, draw many of its features from the Swedish snus, which is basically just like our Naswar, but the composition and the method of preparation is different. And this product was produced by the same company. The container has a storage space on the top where you can use the used or partially used pouch. Absence of the tar, spitless footprint, modern nicotine experience, sensation lasting for 30 minutes, stain-free teeth, no smoke or smoky smell, and many other features. They were advertised by the promoters when they launched this product. So, Velo is sold in, next slide, please. Velo is sold in 17 other countries, including UK and America, and is available in almost all major cities of Pakistan. Pakistan has a already high prevalence of smokeless tobacco, which is 8.6%. Pakistanis, they use Naswar. However, Velo targeted a new and unique market, which was the non-Naswar using youth and the affluent. The exact number of the cans sold in Pakistan over the past 2 years is not available. However, a local shopkeeper, when interviewed, he claimed that he's selling the Velo pouches or Velo cans by thousands every month, up from a very few when they actually started selling it. Next, please. So British American Tobacco, they pledged £1 billion for marketing and advertising this product through influencers in Kenya and Pakistan. They chose these two markets and they pledged that they'll spend £1 billion for that. Resultantly, youth got attracted, and by these singers, actors, drama artists, and a host of other influencers. Free samples were distributed during its launch. A price of maximum 4 dot, which is the highest strength, is 120 rupees, and the lesser ones are for 100 rupees and 80 rupees, which is extremely cheap and affordable for the students or the youth or through even their pocket money. Next slide. So the popular slogan included smoke-free, smell-free, hands-free, all white and stain-free. So a lot of freedom to attract the youth or young users for this. And data for the exact sales volume is not available. However, Facebook and Instagram posts from 40 influencers in Pakistan using Velo hashtag have been viewed 13.1 million times and have a potential audience of over 181 million. Just a few words about the regulation and recommendations. So Pakistan banned point of sale or tobacco advertisement on the point of sale in January of 2020. However, many loopholes such as marketing on the internet and other and online sales, they do exist in this. And then what happened was that the tobacco industry made best possible use of these, and they started selling these online. They are available even in open market and as well as online. There is a need to regulate online promotion of the novel products, including Velo. There's a need to regulate the products by bringing it under the recently implemented track and trace system. Asif Saab is going to talk more about that system, and taxing them in line with other tobacco products. But for that, we'll first have to go back and change the definition of tobacco, because the Velo pouches, they claim to be tobacco-free nicotine pouches. So we'll probably have to regulate nicotine. It's a very complex process, and tobacco industry is aware of this. That is why they have created this enormous challenge for us in Pakistani market. Moreover, flavors such as and tobacco-free synthetic nicotine that can also be, and other imported products, they also need to be regulated. So with these brief recommendations, I come to the end of my presentation, and looking forward to the question answers as well as the comments by the other participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Wasim Saab. We can take the question answers at the end of the session. Now I would like to request Ms. Dania Farah for her presentation. She is MS Economics student. I believe that. Okay. So Ms. Dania Farah is MS Economics student from IBA Karachi. We do have her video presentation also.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of the day. I'm Dania Farah, MS Economics student at IBA. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah and profound thanks to SGPI team to provide me this opportunity to present a part of my MS thesis work. Considering the theme of the conference, the topic of my presentation is it viable to leave behind smokeless tobacco consumption? Evidence from case study. Smokeless tobacco, as per National Cancer Institute, is a tobacco that is not smoked or burned, used as chewing tobacco or moist snuff, inhaled through the nose as a dry snuff. Globally, 49 varieties are available and are marketed focusing on enhanced taste and flavors, with 90% consumers from Southeast Asia and 100 million belonging to India and Pakistan. It is carried out as a familiar tradition and also propagated as a safe alternative to smoking, though it is not the case, as deaths on account of SLT-induced diseases such as cancers are predicted to rise to around 8 million per year by 2030, with 80% belonging to lower and middle income countries. SLT is also a source of transmitting coronavirus because of frequent hand-to-mouth contact, sharing of packets, and spitting. A prospective dilemma is that developing countries are anticipated to face a substantially large economic burden on account of loss of workforce, deprivation of household income, upsurge in healthcare costs. And this is because there is underestimation of cost at the moment. Why? Because social costs are not incorporated and there's scarcity of resources and data. This scarcity, along with the wide-scale cottage-based SLT industry, leads to lack of documentation, in particular the lower and middle income countries. According to Tobacco Atlas, Pakistan ranks 24th in SLT prevalence and it's soaring highest in Karachi as per intercity comparisons. And amongst education institutes, it's reported to be highest amongst the students of University of Karachi. The risk of contracting oral cancers is 8.5 to 10 times in SLT users in Pakistan, and this risk is amplified when you're talking about the low socioeconomic group. Considering this sensitivity and the frequent sight of splotch patches around the administration block of a largest public sector-based higher education institute, this case study was executed where the focus was the non-teaching staff and the chewed and moist form of SLT. To monitor the prevalence, consumption, expenditure trends, and to obtain the determinants of smokeless tobacco consumption. Along with this, comparative analysis with respect to SLT users and non-users was done for the knowledge about the hazards, the occurrence of SLT-associated diseases, and the relative risk was also calculated. The research methodology began with designing the questionnaire using the established questionnaire and the literature review. Pre-testing was done. Permission was sought from the administration of the site of case study. Individual consent was sought, and then interview-based survey using a semi-structured questionnaire was conducted. Data was recorded, and statistical analysis was done using Stata 13. The statistical analysis comprised of the univariate analysis, the bivariate analysis such as the cross tabulations. The prevalence was calculated using the formula from Economics of Tobacco Toolkit. Inferential analysis, that is in the form of robust logistic regression, was used to obtain the determinants of smokeless tobacco consumption. Case study-based relative risk was also calculated. A number of participants were approached, and responses from 296 were used to obtain the empirics, comprising 265 male and 31 female participants. Overall, the prevalence of SLT was 63.2%, which is much higher than that reported for Bangladesh-based cross-sectional study. This 63.2% comprised 55.6% daily users, and all these were males as indicated by the black color. This male dominance follows the global trend of male dominance in SLT consumption. Occasional users were also present in the large proportion. To discuss the characteristic of daily users, I'll begin with this Venn diagram that shows that a number of SLTs were consumed either solo or in combo. Pan alone was significantly the most prevalent form of SLT that was used by the daily users, and Naswar usage was highest in daily users as compared to less than daily users. The prevalence of SLT was a predominant feature of those belonging to the age group of 25 to 44 years and those residing in East District. Majority of daily users had acquired maximum education till junior high school, endorsing the findings from GATS 2015, and this benightedness was also reported amongst the Naswar SLT users of Peshawar. The dominance of single male SLT users is parallel to the recent findings from Myanmar. Friends and company are not only the triggering factors but are also a hindrance towards quitting. For daily users, family history significantly played a prominent role, with majority reporting female and uneducated family users. History of diseases was seldomly reported. One person suffered from heart attack, four sufferers of angina pain, two people suffered angina-like symptoms. There was one case each for precancerous lesions and mouth ulcers. Findings revealed that SLT ever users were 2 times at a greater risk of having angina. Despite the fact that majority of daily users perceived SLT to be hazardous and were well aware about the specific diseases, average daily expenditure on pedal quid, that is PAN, was PKR 72.9 or $0.42 US, and PKR 45.4, that is US $0.26, was spent on pouch-based SLT. The significant predictors of being SLT users included the family history, attaining less education, being married or divorced as compared to being single, as supported from evidence of Nepal. People belonging to moderate and low income were more prone to be SLT users, as even reported for India and Nepal. The elderly males were also seen vulnerable, though it was not significant. So, is it viable to leave behind smokeless tobacco consumption? I would say no. Why? Because the prevalence and cost estimated in this study is a lower bound. Because a number of SLT users were hesitant to take part, there was misreporting of SLT usage status. Users, along with sufferers of diseases, could not be reached because of absentia. In-person cost could not be gauged as majority relied on the panel facility, thus burdening the resources of the institution. The policy recommendations include that the national policies should address the availability of SLT despite being banned. It should also address the hindrances such as the ease of access and low level of education. Quitting facilitation centers should be established. Social media and telecommunication platforms can play a vital role by disseminating the knowledge about the hazards and even reporting about the established quitting facilitation centers. A complete ban is viable. FCTC clauses 11 and 13 need to be implemented that suggest that the advertisement and promotion in the form of displays at point of sales should be prohibited. Primary healthcare practitioners can identify the SLT users and can convince them to quit. Then there should be clear pictorial warnings. And in this trying time of COVID, it should be strictly forbidden to spit in public places. And if people are seen eating or spitting, fines should be imposed. I would end by saying, sorry, that stringent implication of empower approach by monitoring and strict policy enforcement against SLT usage, along with encouraging, supporting, and reinforcing quitting behavior, can help in reducing and exterminating the preventable cause of spread of diseases and deaths, that is SLT. Thank you so much, and
Thank you very
Jazakallah
much,
khairan.
Ms. Dania Farah, for your presentation. We are joined by Dr. Nosheen Hamid. She's a parliamentary secretary for health. She has been elected as member National Assembly in 2018 general elections. She's MBBS doctor and earned a degree from Doe Medical College. Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am. You are the chief guest for today's panel. Uh, for your uh, uh, for your knowledge, I just wanted to share that we are joined by Dr. Minhaj Siraj, sitting at the right side, Mr. Asif Iqbal from SPTC Karachi, Wasim Iftikhar Janjua, and we are joined by Dr. Sahana Agde from India. She has joined us online. Ms. Zara Grigorian from Armenia, and Wasim Saab has earlier presented on Velo. And for next discussion, I would request Mr. Asif Iqbal, who is the managing director SPTC Karachi.
Thank you, Wasif. Well, I'll briefly talk about the track and trace system, but overall the challenges that we have in terms of tobacco tax policy in Pakistan. Of course, tobacco taxation is widely recognized as a very effective tool to curb the consumption of tobacco, and it works like when you increase tax, the price increases, and it affects the demand for cigarettes. So the track and trace system, which is basically a tool for to minimizing the illicit trade and tax evasion. And it has been rolled out recently by Federal Bureau of Statistics, and it was much awaited policy initiative. And under this system, they will they will have electronic stamps on each pack of the cigarette, which will be, and they will be able to trace from every stage of the supply chain, from the manufacturing to the wholesale to the retailers, to see whether the cigarette which is being sold is duty paid or not. So but this system is recently rolled out, and it's kind of at pilot stage. I think they installed and inaugurated the system in a factory in Jhelum. So it is yet to be seen how effective it will be. But I think this TTS system should be seen as an integral component of a comprehensive tax control policy in any country, and of course in Pakistan. So just to give you an overall situation of tax policy, tobacco tax policy in Pakistan, and particularly the cigarette tax policy in Pakistan, which is the main revenue generator in the case of tobacco industry. So there is a study which is called Tobacconomics Cigarette Tax Scorecard, and Tobacconomics is a collaboration of leading researchers globally, and which is they're working on economics of tobacco control. So they come up with a scorecard, which is on the scale of 0 to 5, and Pakistan has scored 1.13 only out of 5 in this scorecard in terms of when we talk about 2020, the data. So the assessment they have done is basically on 4 grounds. One is cigarette price, affordability change, tax share, and tax structure. And Pakistan is kind of on the bottom of the list. I mean, Pakistan is on 131st, I think, rank in 160 countries. So it's very below. It's very on the bottom. And when we talk about regional comparison, so we have Sri Lanka, which has scored 3.63, Bangladesh, which has scored 2.63, Iran with 2, and even India 1.75. So this is kind of a reflection that how effective tobacco control policy, or particularly the tax policy, has been in Pakistan. So this is one point, that overall we are not doing well on tobacco taxation, and when we compare to the regional countries, and of course on a global scale we remain at the bottom of the list. And what are the implications? So as I said, there are 4 components, but I'll talk about 2 components. One is the price, and one is the taxation. So first of all, prices are very low. Why consumption? It has been said that Pakistan is among the high burden in terms of countries in terms of tobacco. One major reason for higher consumption is low prices. That cigarettes are cheap in Pakistan. And WHO report on global tobacco epidemic 2021, it says that cigarette prices are lowest compared to other regional countries, and a price of a 20 cigarette pack of the most sold brands in Pakistan in terms of international dollars, it's not US dollars, it's international dollar, which is adjusted with the purchasing power parity. So in Pakistan, it's $2.1. In contrast, in India, the price is $8.7. In Bangladesh, it's 2.9. In Sri Lanka, it's 24.9 international dollars. So that shows that the cigarettes are cheap in Pakistan. That is the major reason and of the higher consumption in the case of Pakistan. And why cigarettes are cheap? Of course, there could be several reasons, but the major reason of low prices of cigarette in Pakistan is that the taxes are very low. In the case of Pakistan, the average excise here, we have two tier. I'm not going to be in the details of taxation structure. We have two tiers. One is high priced and one is low priced. So we have different federal excise duty rates. So average excise share, tax share in the retail price in the case of Pakistan is around 45%, which is much lower than the widely accepted benchmark of 70%. So 70% is a widely accepted benchmark, and Pakistan stays at only 45%. So the low rate of tax that leads to low prices of and increased consumption, of course. And another problem is that these rates usually there has been up and down, and they increase the taxes. And we all see that whenever government is in resource crunch, they would like to tap more resources. But this is not the case in tobacco industry. The rates have not increased since July 2019, and even in this the era of resource crunch, when government is striving for more revenues, they are not increasing excise tax rates on cigarettes. So it's been 2 years now. In July 2019, it was increased. After that, it has not increased. On the other hand, the prices of the cigarettes have remained stagnant. So they are almost the same have been same during the last 2 years or so. So if we adjust for the inflation, that all prices of all other things are increasing. Inflation, for example, is around 8 to 9% during the last few months or so, and there is no increase in the prices. So the real price of cigarette has gone down actually, if you adjust it for increasing price of other things. So that means the cigarettes have become more affordable. And that of course will lead to increased consumption. So this is one major reason for cigarettes being cheap. Another reason is, of course, illicit trades. Now, cigarettes are produced locally, which are not duty paid, and cigarettes are imported, or we can say smuggled without paying duty. So these are the major areas which needs attention. So when we talk about increasing taxes, which is also related to the track and trace system, of course, when we talk about that tax should be increased, for example, as I said, it's around 45% of the retail price on average in Pakistan, and we are aiming at 70%. So the most common argument that is put forward by the tobacco industry is that if you increase tax, illicit trade will increase. But that's not the whole story. Usually they say, I mean, just for your information, we have two big companies, which I mean, the Pakistan Tobacco Company and Philip Morris International. So their market share is around 98% of the total declared market in Pakistan. So and the third listed company is Khyber Tobacco. So these are the major two are PTC and the Philip Morris. So the story is that they say that you increase taxes. So there are people outside in the illegal market or unlicensed market, the producers, they produce cigarettes at a cheaper cost because they don't have to pay taxes, and government is imposing taxes on these firms, though those are already paying taxes. But that's not the whole story. Actually, if we just one question, over the last 2 years, for example, prices have not gone up. Cost has gone up because inflation rate, we all know that it is close to double digit now. So if your cost increasing and your price is stagnant, that would mean your profit margin would reduce. You'll be a loser. I mean, you were making profit, but you might lose. But the issue is that in 2019, just one example of Pakistan Tobacco Company, their gross profit was 26 billion, and the next year, 2020, their gross profit was 31.5 billion. So there was almost 20% increase in their profit, and this was despite the pandemic, the COVID thing, that when all the industries were struggling. So in this COVID thing, it was tobacco industry which was making more profits. So why is that? That your price is not increasing, your cost is increasing, and still you are making profit. That means the answer is that you are evading, you are underreporting your production to evade tax. You're not paying taxes. So for that purpose, SPDC, the Social Policy and Development Center, we did a study in 2019 for the data of 2018 on the underreporting of cigarette industries in Pakistan. And we took these two three companies, Pakistan Tobacco Company, Philip Morris, and the Khyber Tobacco. And the study says that in 2018, the extent of underreporting was somewhere between 22 to 26%. So that means a loss of almost 37 billion rupees in tax revenue. So point is that when they say that illicit trade will increase due to increase in taxes, they are part of the illicit trade. So they are underreporting and they're not paying taxes. So in that case, the track and trace system can play its role, because there will be some monitoring on that. And the second component, of course, is the illicit trade of production of non-duty paid cigarettes by unlicensed manufacturers. Well, I mean, according to rules, the tax which is applied, no cigarette pack of 20 cigarette can be sold below rupees 63. And if you go to the market, you can find a cigarette pack 30 to 40 rupees. That means, I mean, if you are paying the minimum duty or tax that is to be paid is 33 rupees on one pack. So how can you sell a cigarette into 30 rupees if you are paying 33 rupees? That is very, very, I mean, kind of an open secret that why it's happening. And third thing is the smuggling. You can see so in the market. So I'll briefly touch upon the last point, that this track and trace system, it is good, but we have three components, major component. One is the regular licensed large organization. We are going to install a track system over there, and we hope that this 22 to 26% or whatever it is, between 20 to 25% of underreporting, that can be taken care of. But also we need to, I mean, the government need to think about how to go about this unlicensed production. Because if they are unlicensed, if they are not on paper, I mean, if they are not registered, then how track and trace system is going to be installed? And third is, of course, smuggling, that how, what would be the policy for track and trace system if you are importing cigarettes? Just to give you one example, then I'll stop. That when we talk about smuggled cigarette, there was an advertisement from Federal Bureau of Board of Revenue about the illicit cigarettes or illegal cigarettes, and one the smuggled cigarette. One kind of indicator was that if there is no health warning in Urdu printed on the cigarette pack, that means the cigarette pack is non-duty paid. So my question is that, do we need a very sophisticated kind of a system to know that it's not printed? You just go to supermarket or Jinnah supermarket, to any cigarette shop, and they are flooded with all these brands. So my point is that it is good that it's kind of a top-down approach. The track and trace system, you start from the manufacturer and go to the retail system. But at the same time, there has to be some action from the bottom to top. You just have to visit a grocery store in the supermarket in Islamabad, for example. It's all over the Pakistan, of course. I'm just giving an example. So it doesn't require any rocket science. Just to go and you see they are being sold, and there is no health warning, there is no pictorial warning. Not in sometimes because the law says it has to be in Urdu. It's not printed in Urdu. That means the cigarette was imported illegally. So to me, it's a very good initiative, and it's much awaited. It was being awaited for the long time, several years now. It has started, and we are, I mean, all the tobacco advocates, they are there for it. But of course, we need to see the other things also, that as I said, as a part of a comprehensive tobacco control strategy, that we also have other components, the unlicensed cigarette and also the smuggled cigarettes. And of course, the tax administration has to be very strong on that. So I sincerely hope that this TS system, track and trace system, at least will be able to curb this 20% of the underreporting that, according to us, we are updating this study, and it will be available maybe in a couple of in 3 to 4 weeks. So that's the my point is that the TTS system should be seen as a component of the tobacco control strategy, and also we shouldn't be ignoring the other components. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Asif Iqbal, for elaborating the issue, touching tobacconomics, low taxation issue, pictorial warning, illicit trade. Before going to Dr. Minhajul Siraj, with your request, if I can take an online presentation from India. We have with us Dr. Sahana Hagde, Professor and Head Department of Public Health Dentistry at D.Y. Patel Dental College Hospital, Pune. She has a presentation. Dr. Sahana, can you hear us?
Do I share my screen or you will be sharing?
We have both options. If you want us to share.
I would prefer to share my screen.
Okay, perfect.
The host is disabled. Can I share my screen now? Host has disabled participant screen sharing.
You can share your screen now.
Okay. Okay. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay. Good afternoon. The presentation comes to you from India, from a city by the name of Pune, a city very close to Mumbai. So this particular study I undertook during the pandemic. It is on tobacco control in secondary schools of Pimpri-Chinchwad, Pune, opportunities and challenges during the pandemic. The Southeast Asian region has the largest number of tobacco users, the child tobacco users in the age of 13 to 15 years. And the largest number of child cigarette users are also more in the Southeast Asian region. COTPA was the Cigarette and the Other Tobacco Product Act was formulated in May 2003 in India, and it was enacted in 2004. Basically, this is a comprehensive program. It is very robust. They take into consideration the laws that have been enacted, how to control tobacco use in India. It also is into school programs, advocacy programs, IEC programs, and also engages the community. The National Tobacco Control Program in 2007 and 2008 was implemented, and we also have a quitline and a cessation services in India. The Central Board of Secondary Education in 2008 issued compulsory guidelines for ensuring tobacco-free schools in India, and by 2017, there were guidelines for guidelines were implemented. This was the Section 6B, which suggested that there should be no sale of tobacco within 100 yards of the school premises. In 2019, the Health and Family Welfare Government of India released the guidelines for the tobacco-free schools called as TOFI. The guidelines provide a framework for achieving the objectives They consider the health impact, the tobacco cessation, especially for the school children and the teachers, the staff members of the school. The school children should be brought up in a tobacco-free environment and implementation of the legal provisions, especially the Section 6B. GYTS 2009 for India says that the current tobacco product users is 8.5%, smokers is 7.3%, and smokeless tobacco users are 4.1%. There is a amendment to COTPA, that is the COTPA Amendment 2020. This was on public domain, and this was as a pre-legislative measure. And here they suggested that instead of tobacco being sold or instead of being allowed to be sold to 18 years and above, we should increase the age from 18 years to 21 years. And now it says, at present, it says that within 100 yards of the school premises, tobacco should not be sold. And they wanted this to be changed to 100 meters. So we noticed that there was a problem. There was sale of tobacco within 100 yards of the school premises. Children were consuming sweetened supari, that is areca nut, and tobacco, smokeless tobacco mainly. And the teachers were, some of the non-teaching staff was also consuming the tobacco products. We came to know through the situation analysis, which we carried out, and this pilot questionnaire survey was carried out in 2019. So we planned operational research. What does the operational research do? It examines the healthcare system, and the goal is to improve the healthcare system. We have the National Tobacco Control Program, and the government alone is not in a position to to have a control on tobacco. So the gaps were identified, quality improvement initiatives were introduced, and we followed by monitoring whether or not these have resulted in improvements to the service. The monitoring is still going on. We have not completed the monitoring though. What was the objective of the study? To assess schools as baseline using the self-evaluation scorecard for tobacco-free educational institution as part of operational research. So this was the self-evaluation scorecard that we use for TOEFL. These are the criteria. There are 9 criteria, and we have weightage points, which totals to 100. The study setting was the 19 secondary municipal schools in Pimpri-Chinchwad. We eliminated the private schools, and the sample size was calculated, and we took all the 19 schools into consideration, the secondary schools in consideration. We took the permission of the Department of the Secondary Education, Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation. Ethical clearance was obtained, and we trained the data collectors. The study design was for the baseline survey, which was conducted during March 2021, was a serial cross-sectional study, and the duration of the operational research is October 2020 to September 2023. So we had a WhatsApp group for the teachers and the children, for the teachers basically, and we also have a YouTube channel for the children. This was done because during the pandemic, the schools were not in session, the school principals, the school teachers were in the school, but most of the time the children were not in school. So this is the permission that we obtained from the Director of Education. And we had an introductory briefing for the school children, for the school teachers. We let them know about the tobacco-free school program. We also, on the day of Women's Day, that is in March 2021, we had an online webinar for the school teachers, especially the women in the school, and we told them about the ill effects of tobacco. We met up with the school principals, all the 19 school principals. We use the Google Map and the GPS to locate the vendors within 100 yards. We noticed that almost all the schools had vendors selling tobacco within 100 yards of the school premises. What were the results of the study? Only 4 and more criteria were met by only 0% of the school, which shows that hardly any of the criteria, TOEFL criteria, is met by any of the schools. Three criteria were met by 11% of the school. 2 criteria were met by 37% of the school. 1 criteria by 26% of the school, and 0 criteria by 37% of the school. The criteria achieved by the schools were mainly tobacco-free area signage by 42% of the school. Posters were displayed in 42% of the schools. There was no evidence of use of products in 26% of the school, that is within the premises. We checked for smokeless tobacco pouches, spitting evidence, etc. TOEFL signage was present in the 16% of the school. and no sale within 100 yards was present in only 5% of the schools. Schools with the highest score, 11% of the schools had 29 to 30 score, 37% had 17 to 20, 26% had 9 to 10, and 26% had 0 score. We involved the school children by having virtual drawing competition for them. All the messages, the flyers would be sent across to the teachers in the WhatsApp group, and the teachers would send it across to the schools. We had about 42 children participating, three entries from each of the school, and about 14 schools participated. And this was done on World Health Day, and we gave them topic, and that was smoking and its ill effects on TB patients. The school principals and the teachers all have a role in the TFS initiative. We have these tobacco monitors for each of the schools, and we made them part of our WhatsApp group. We also had other webinars for the school children on World Tuberculosis Day, on World No Tobacco Day. However, we did face challenges. All school children are not involved in these webinars, though there are nearly 7,300 children. They are not involved in the webinar. Most of the children do not have mobile phones with them. The mobile phone may, if they are present, they are with the parent, and the parent may be a daily wage earner, maybe using the phone for himself or herself. We also had audio video online competition for the children on how to make the school tobacco free. And about 9 schools participated. There was participation by the school children and the school teachers as well. Once we realized that the TOEFI guidelines are not being followed, the signage is not present in the school, we initiated this program of putting up the signatures in the school, that is within the school premises and at the gates of the school premises. Our intern is seen here educating the vendors. These are the vendors which are present within 100 yards of the school premises. So the intern is educating the vendor about the tobacco control laws. Most of them are not aware of the tobacco control laws. He's using a flip chart to educate them. And we took the help of a non-governmental organization, that is MGVS, which is a local partner of the union in Maharashtra. We also plan to conduct a webinar for the police and the school principal to make them aware of the tobacco control laws. The present study has shown us that only 42% of the school have the signatures, and only 5% of the schools have no shop selling the products. Now, this is in a study conducted in 2017. This is conducted in government schools. About 507 government schools have been involved, and this is conducted in the same state where we are located, where the present study has been conducted, that is in Maharashtra. And here also you notice the same thing, that the percentage of schools adhering to the criteria is quite low. In the study conducted in 2017, which is in the southern region of India, also you see that, for criteria 3, only 1% of the schools have adhered to the criteria. This particular school in study in 2020 conducted in Maharashtra again, which is in 4 rural districts of Maharashtra. Here they involved about 68 schools. You notice that it is comparable. The percentage of the percentage of schools adhering to the criteria is well below 20%. And this study in 2021 conducted in Haryana, that is the northern region of India, where they included 71 schools. The percentage is again low. Some of them are as low as 1.4 or 0 or 2.8%. So through all these studies, what we notice is that the criteria, tobacco-free school criteria, is hardly met by any of the school, though the NTCP has made it mandatory that the school should be tobacco-free. So to conclude, we notice that none of the schools have attained the status of implementation of TOEFI guidelines, and none have achieved the benchmark score, which is 90 out of 100, and were not eligible for the award scheme. And through this study, that is the operational research, we intend to make all the 19 schools tobacco-free in 3 years' time. These are my references. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sahana, for touching upon the tobacco-free schools. Before moving on to Dr. Minhajul Siraj, I have to jump upon Dr. Nosheen Hamid, the Parliamentary Secretary for Health. She had a very busy schedule, and she honored us by joining us today. Dr. Nosheen Hamid, for your kind remarks, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All the people sitting on the head table and the participants, Assalamu alaikum. In fact, today I think it's a matter of great pleasure that we are gathered here for a very important topic. And this is very important for Pakistan and the youth of Pakistan especially. So it's good that we are talking about it. So I have been a regular visitor in the past 3 years since I've been the Parliamentary Secretary for Health. I have been a regular visitor at the conferences of STPI. And this organization is certainly doing wonderful work in the field of tobacco control in Pakistan. They bring many interesting perspectives to the domain of tobacco control in collaboration with the other civil society organizations and the Ministry of Health. As I think all of you know that 24 million tobacco users are present in Pakistan, and this is really alarming. Similarly, almost 8.6 of the total population continues to use smokeless tobacco products such as Naswar, besides causing enormous health burden. Almost 1,61,000 Pakistan die of tobacco-related NCDs every year. So this is a great burden on our health system. And I think, as was mentioned previously also, that the amount of tax we collect is about 1.3 billion or something, the tobacco related industry. The amount of tax collected is this much, and the burden we are facing because of tobacco use is almost 6 billion. So we can very well understand that the tobacco use, what economic burden it is costing to us. So COVID-19 added to the national health burden, especially in low and middle income countries. Although by the grace of Allah, Pakistan fared pretty well during the pandemic. However, the health burden replicates many developing and developed countries. And increasing tobacco usage has only added to the severity of the problem. I think we all know that the tobacco users have been worst hit by this pandemic, although the tobacco industry tried to convey this message that people who are using tobacco will be less affected by COVID, but that was not so. So many studies have proven the adverse effects of tobacco use in relation to the coronavirus. And Pakistan, the achievements of the government, or what the efforts of the government which they are doing, first was the implementation of the point of sale tobacco ad ban, which was implemented during February 2020, a few days prior to the COVID-19 lockdown in Pakistan. There's no doubt that no policy is perfect. However, such small steps go a long way in strengthening the tobacco control regime. And I think detailed discussion was done on the track and trace system, whereby every pack of cigarette produced will have a tax stamp and will remain traceable throughout its life cycle. So on one hand, it will help us address the long-standing criticism related to tax evasion in the tobacco sales. And on the other hand, the loopholes which were just mentioned by Mr. Asif Iqbal, I think we need to look into that also. The unlicensed products, the smuggling. So, but at least we have to start from somewhere. Next, few years back, a health levy was announced by the government. First, it was named as sin tax, and through that, the government planned to tax the tobacco products as well as the sugary drinks. But somehow, due to some legal formalities, that could not be implemented. So then, because of some legal loopholes, they changed the name of sin tax to health levy. But then also that was also delayed. But now Prime Minister has taken notice of that, and they have formulated a committee of 3 ministers, federal ministers. The SAPM on Health is the member, Dr. Sania Nishtar, and I think Asad Omar Saab. So they are doing something, and we hope to bring it up in the upcoming budget. And this text needs to be put forward, especially on the sugary drinks and on the tobacco products. And I think because the main reason, as was being mentioned also, that affordability of these things, because they are very affordable, that is why it is easiest as for the students and the younger generation also. So I think through this text, we will be able to at least make these things a little expensive so that they are not easily affordable by the younger generation. Then in the federal ministry has also established tobacco cessation clinics with collaboration of WHO in the public and private sector hospitals. So these clinics are also doing their, because on one hand we need to control the people who become new smokers, but those who are already smokers, we need to help them out also. So these cessation clinics will be effective for them. And also this tobacco control desk was established at the office of the Commissioner Karachi last week, covering all 7 districts of Karachi. So total 13 districts across Pakistan have the infrastructure for implementation of tobacco control laws. And these cities have more than 30% of the country's population. So this initiative will also, inshallah ta'ala, help us move forward. So tobacco industry is constantly been making strides to bypass the laws, and I'm aware of at least 2 such aspects. Firstly, a flagship tobacco factory was opened during April in Sahiwal, while the entire world was busy worrying about the COVID-19 and in putting an end to the tobacco products, Pakistan seriously missed the boat. Secondly, as mentioned in one of the presentations, many new and novel products have been introduced by the tobacco industry, such as Velo. And this Velo, because it is easily available, as was mentioned by the presenter, Dr. Wasim Janjua, it is easily available, it is affordable, there is lack of awareness about the hazards, and there is a general conception that it is harmless because it is tobacco free, which is not the case. And the publicity and marketing on the social media, the Facebook and Instagram, so all these things are attracting the youth and the younger generation toward this. These products directly target the youth, school, college, and university students and have gained rapid popularity. So there is serious need to take immediate steps and develop the regulatory framework to control or ban these products. Products such as e-cigarettes, heat-no-burn products, and tobacco-free nicotine pouches are all addictive products and are capturing our youth market at a very unprecedented rate. I would encourage STPI and other partners present at this forum to look into the possibility of working on developing special policies for these novel products, besides developing a multi-sectoral tobacco control policy. In the end, I would like to thank STPI for inviting me and organizing such an enlightening session on this important issue. And believe me, all the people who are sitting on the head table, they are working for this tobacco control, because I've seen them working. I've been with them on many occasions. So with champions like them, inshallah ta'ala, we will reach somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nosheen Hamid, for joining us today, and thank you very much for sharing the word of wisdom. Taking benefit of the permission given by Dr. Minhaj, I would really like to jump upon the last presentation from Armenia.
I have to leave.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Zara Gorjian is a research associate at the School of Public Health and American University of Armenia. Over to you, Zara.
Hello, thank you. Please, I will ask you to share the screen. Possible?
Zara, your screen is
Shall I start? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be invited here to deliver a presentation, and I will talk about the dual burden of tobacco and COVID-19 in Armenia, a low and middle-income country with common health implications caused by both diseases. I will also touch upon some key implications on the global perspective of this deadly pair. Next slide, please. Tobacco smoking is the most
I
prevalent.
would request you to kindly hold on because there is some issue.
Yep.
Yes, carry on, please.
Thanks. Tobacco smoking is the most dangerous and prevalent behavioral risk factor in Armenia, and it especially among the male population. As you can see from the slides, almost half of the Armenian adult male population, more than 50% are smoking, and this rate is one of the highest in the European region. Actually, it is the second highest rate in the European region. Due to some cultural prohibitions against women smoking in Armenia, it seems that this 1.8% prevalence among women tobacco use is underreported, and some expert opinions claim that this smoking rate among women population tends to reach almost 6 to 8%. Though luckily the rate is significantly low compared with the men population. Next slide, please. Armenia was the first former Soviet Union country that acceded FCTC, and it has implemented a set of policy measures to reduce tobacco consumption in Armenia in accordance with the FCTC requirements and recommendations. There are several laws that regulate tobacco control in Armenia. Law on restrictions of tobacco sale, consumption and use, and law on advertising. You see, the laws were accepted back in early 2000s. However, tobacco control successes are insignificant in Armenia. Next slide, please. In fact, the major challenges are summarized in this slide. The enforcement of the laws were insufficient. We had widespread use of tobacco and consequently secondhand smoke in banned areas, and also there were absence of systems to report on violations and to punish for those violations. We have very insufficient implementation of FCTC Article 14. Cessation services are not available in Armenia. Most healthcare providers do not have capacity to provide cessation services to their patients, despite the reported demand in quitting services. In fact, early surveys have demonstrated that almost half of current smokers had attempted to quit in past 12 months, but only 30% of those smokers received any type of assistance or advice from their physicians. So there is no quit line in Armenia, and also NRT are not available. Still, we have very high affordability of tobacco products and a lack of public awareness campaigns. Next slide, please. With the change of our government and as a result of the revolution in Armenia back in 2018, we had increased political commitment to tobacco control in Armenia, which was reflected in adoption and update of the national law in 2020, the law on reduction and prevention of the damage caused by the use of tobacco products and their substitutes. So this new law aimed to harmonize the national provisions with the FCTC, and it offered new, stronger restrictions and stronger bans as related to tobacco use. So we have stronger smoke-free bans that apply to all types of tobacco products. Some restrictions extend also to smoke-free hospitality sectors, retail sector, and workplaces, which will be enforced by 2020. We will have stricter bans on tobacco display and advertising starting by this year, 2021, and by 2024 we will have plain packaging in Armenia. Next slide, please. So let's dive deeper on to COVID-19 epidemic in Armenia. So we can see from the color that our country does slightly better compared with our neighboring countries, though we had very high death toll due to COVID-19. Starting 2020, January 2020, we have had 340,000 confirmed cases and more than 7,000, nearly reaching 8,000 deaths due to COVID-19. Next slide, please. Here we can see the epidemiological curve of COVID-19 incidence. We see the four very explicit curves, with the second and fourth one being highest ones, and the extreme points of those curves were similar, despite the availability of vaccination. In fact, vaccination progress rate in Armenia was bad before the the end of the fourth surge. Next slide, please. Here you also can see that the death toll was growing exponentially in Armenia, and the death rate caused by the fourth wave was highest in Armenia, and it was again determined by the absence of vaccination, by poor vaccination rate. And in contrast to other developing countries who are doing great with this rate, with reducing death rates, we did really bad. Our country did really bad. Next slide, please. Luckily, our government's efforts started providing some positive impacts in terms of vaccination progress. The rate is growing currently, but it is slightly reaching the 30% of fully vaccination coverage. Hopefully, this new restrictions and requirements and bans will support the vaccination progress in Armenia. Next slide, please. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the public health attention of the public health community was predominantly focused on non-communicable diseases, because as we can see the graph the trend of non-communicable diseases was growing, and the focus from as I told was shifted to managing prevention of those diseases. However, COVID-19 opened our eyes. We have witnessed that those two types of diseases are going hand in hand, and they could not be separated from each other. Our control efforts should be focused both on communicable and non-communicable diseases, especially while we see that they are interrelated in terms of causality. So next slide, please. Tobacco use is a major risk factor for many respiratory and also non-communicable diseases like cancer, CVDs, diabetes, and those diseases are known also to be a risk factor for COVID-19 disease. So there is a causality in terms of positive pattern of interrelation between tobacco use, diseases, and COVID-19 disease. So we have two major epidemics that go hand in hand together and threatens the global security, and almost all countries are affected by this trend. But it's worth to mention that, and it goes without saying, that low middle income countries are impacted the most. So next slide, please. The current pandemic provides us a teachable moment to all tobacco users and also public health community to support tobacco control activities, to quit smoking immediately and take immediate actions to reduce risks of viral transmission. Here I highlighted the WHO statement on COVID-19 and tobacco. So according to the WHO, the smokers need to quit immediately, need to take steps to quit immediately, and by using proven smoking cessation methods. So we see that there will be a really high need, urgent need for improved cessation services, both globally and locally. So patients will become motivated to quit smoking, and those services should be available to address the increasing demand of quitting services. As public health professionals and tobacco control fighters, our role is to reach the populations and effectively highlight to them the utter importance to break the cycle of nicotine addiction and accelerate national tobacco control programs to achieve tobacco-free world. And finally, we need to take actions to stop the progression of two major epidemics of two major epidemics of non-communicable and communicable diseases, like such as tobacco and COVID-19, to stop this deadly toll of this deadly pair of diseases. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, now I would request Dr. Minhajus Siraj for his brief remarks and the closing remarks also. Sir, in the start, Mr. Wasim Iftikhar Janjua discussed about the velo use and its cancerous and addictive nature. He talked about the Pakistan high prevalence rate, 8.6% Pakistani use Niswar. He also said that Facebook and Instagram posts from 40 influencers using Velo hashtag has been viewed by 13.1 million times and by an audience of 181 million by the potential audience. Then Asif Iqbal Saab talked about track and trace system. Dr. Sahana Hagre touched upon tobacco-free schools, which is also one of your subject of expertise, tobacco-free educational institutions. Then Dr. Zara talked about tobacco challenges, which are very much relatable to Pakistan and the COVID-19 pandemic, which is one of the point which we had to deliberate upon in today's discussion. Over to you for your kind remarks, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Wasif. And thanks a lot, SDPI, for inviting me here. Tobacco control is a very interesting subject. And just a little bit different from the other public health activities. When we talk about our fight with tobacco, here we are not pitched against any bacteria or any fungus or any, like my other colleagues in the health department are. Here we are pitched against a corporate giant who has the power to buy us, to bury us. And it has exhibited that audacity in many of the developing poor countries across the globe. And while we talk about tobacco control in Pakistan, again a low middle income country, where economics figures are deteriorating day by day, the income or the revenue being generated by the sale of tobacco products does mean a lot to some, while the others tend to just look away from the hazards it has created or it is creating. More than 3 decades ago, we made a bad political decision. We wanted to get rid of a stigma from our nation that we are a drug producing nation. So we allowed the production of tobacco in the areas where drugs were being produced, only giving the hope or incentive to the farmers that every leaf of your product will be purchased. And we made a legal entity, Pakistan Tobacco Board, to protect the rights of the farmers and to protect the right of the growers or the middlemen selling these products. But when the health hazards cropped up and we had to check the use of tobacco in our country, and main focus, of course, remains to prevent the spread of cancers, the next generations. Our fight is on a very tight rope. Production is legal. From cultivation till manufacturing of tobacco products, till the time they are placed in the market shelves. Everything is legal. Our control starts from the moment that pack is purchased, and then the purchaser tries to use it. We can only limit our control on that activities. Still, so many things have been done, so many things have to be done. I'll start from the first presentation. Then Yuva Saab is a very keen observer and a very good researcher. Velo जब बात करते हैं, वेलो प्रोडक्ट्स जो हैं वो मार्केट होती हैं कि these are non-tobacco products. They definitely contain nicotine. प्रीटेंस क्या है इंडस्ट्री का कि जी निकोटीन जो है वो टोबैको के अलावा भी तो चीज़ों में होती है. एंड मोस्टली जो हमारे प्लांट्स हैं जो दे आर डेलिकेट इन नेचर, जिनको हम नाइट शेड प्लांट्स की फैमिली में लेते हैं, इंक्लूडिंग एग प्लांट्स एंड टोमेटोज एंड सो मेनी अदर्स, they also have a very high amount of nicotine in them. Basically, nature produced this chemical to protect them from pests. Nicotine is a pesticide. Same is in tobacco. Tobacco leaves से इसकी extraction आसान है क्योंकि spread out होता है उसके अंदर, और उसमें कोई ऐसी जो है vegetable वाली कोई खासियत नहीं है. So mostly this tobacco leaves are used for extracting nicotine, but still nicotine is available in any other products. Disease process जितना भी है वो सारे का सारा nicotine के साथ जो addictive chemicals और बहुत सारी चीजें जब ऐड की जाती हैं products की manufacturing में, they are the ones who are causing diseases and all these things. Nicotine basically itself is an addictive substance also. ह्यूमन नेचर के लिए बेसिकली पेन किलर के तौर पे हमने दुनिया में इंट्रोड्यूस किया था मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड में 17th सेंचुरी में. और माइंड एड के सर जो हर्बल रीजन के जितने भी पेन किलर्स हैं वो सारे के सारे एक तो एडिक्टिव है नेचर में, और दूसरा उन पे डिपेंडेंस जो है या टॉलरेंस डेवलप हो जाती है. एंड द बेस्ट एग्जांपल इज मॉर्फिन, देन डाइएसिटाइल मॉर्फिन, हम उसे हेरोइन के नाम से जानते हैं. Same goes for nicotine. So general concept के nicotine जो है it's a habit forming thing or something, not, it is an addictive substance. So basically जब वेलो की बात आई है तो of course regulations हमारी जो हैं country की वो थोड़ी सी इस मामले में weak हैं. We are still relying on an ordinance of 2002 जो mainly focus था prohibition of smoking in few places, public places में section 6(5) में और public transport में section 6 में. And then it said कि जी protection of non-smokers health. तो initially जब ये law बना था तो उस वक्त इसकी जो focus था वो सिर्फ इन चीज़ों से था कि हम mostly हम non-smokers को बचाना चाहते हैं second hand smoke से या third hand smoke भी से. But as I said, industry daily innovations करती है. हमें डेली अपने कंट्रोल एफर्ट्स को रिवाइज करना पड़ता है, अपडेट करना पड़ता है. टिल नाउ वी हैव इशूड 27 SROs, स्टैट्यूटरी रेगुलेटरी ऑर्डर्स या सब लेजिस्लेशन जो है, और उसमें भी हमें डेली बेसिस के ऊपर जो है वो उनसे फाइट ही करना पड़ता है. फॉर एग्जांपल हमने शुरू में एक SRO इशू किया जिसमें हमने इनडोर पब्लिक प्लेसेस के अंदर एक डेजिग्नेटेड स्मोकिंग एरिया की इजाजत दे दी. एक तरफ तो हमने जो कह लें कि अपनी क्लिनिकल रिसर्च को निगेट किया कि अंडर वन रूफ देयर इज नो सेफ्टी मार्जिन फ्रॉम सेकंड हैंड स्मोक. अगर इस होटल की बिल्डिंग के अंदर की एक स्मोकिंग एरिया हमने बना दिया तो उसमें से निकलने वाला धुआं ज़ाहिर है सारी बिल्डिंग में जाएगा. बट ऑन द अदर हैंड what we saw on the ground कि जितने भी डेजिग्नेटेड स्मोकिंग एरियाज हमने बनाए एयरपोर्ट्स पे, रेलवे स्टेशन पे, बस स्टॉप्स के ऊपर, उनको टोबैको इंडस्ट्री ने फर्निश करना शुरू कर दिया. सो एयरपोर्ट पे आप गए हैं किसी को रिसीव करने के लिए एंड मे बी यू आर स्टैंडिंग आउट इन द सन और आप ख्वार भी हो रहे हैं, आपके पास बैठने की भी जगह नहीं है, बट इफ यू वांट टू स्मोक, आपके लिए एक एयर कंडीशन रूम वहाँ मौजूद है जिसमें टीवी भी लगा हुआ है, सोफे भी पड़े हुए हैं और आप आराम से उसमें स्मोकिंग कर सकते हैं. सो देन द गवर्नमेंट हैड टू डिसाइड कि नो, लेट्स पुट एन एंड टू दैट. सो गवर्नमेंट बैंड डेजिग्नेटेड स्मोकिंग एरियाज इन द कंट्री. तो इसी तरह अब वेलो या ये जो पाउचेज हैं और इस तरह की जो बहुत सारी इनोवेटिव प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, और चूंकि अब इंडस्ट्री का फोकस चेंज हो गया हीट नॉट बर्न टोबैको के ऊपर, और उसमें भी जो है आपके पास जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिगरेट्स और इन चीज़ों की आप मार्केट्स में देखते हैं, तो इनिशियली जो हमारा 2002 का लॉ है उसमें स्मोकिंग टोबैको की जो डेफिनेशन है उसमें ये आता है कि यूज ऑफ टोबैको इन एनी फॉर्म, चाहे विद द एड ऑफ अ पाइप और अ रैपर और विद इन अ पेप, जिस तरह भी है. तो उसके अंदर हमारे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिगरेट्स और ये चीज़ें जिनके अंदर भी निकोटीन्स हैं, तो वो सारी की सारी उस तरह तो कवर होती हैं. बट नाउ इंडस्ट्री इज होडविंकिंग अस कि जी नहीं, ये तो नॉन टोबैको प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, निकोटीन जो है वो हम टोबैको से नहीं ले रहे, हम कहीं और से ले रहे हैं. Still we need to regulate that, और उसके लिए ड्राफ्ट तो हम गवर्नमेंट बना चुकी है एंड होपफुली कुछ अरसे में जो है वो. अब इसमें भी एक चीज़ है, आई एम श्योर आप लोग मोस्टली बात, जंजुआ साहब भी और सारे आप लोग जो रिसर्च से हैं इंटरेस्टेड, हम इस 2002 का ये ऑर्डिनेंस है और इस ऑर्डिनेंस को हमने आज तक जो है इसकी मेन टेक्स्ट को कभी नहीं अल्टर किया. वी हैव बीन इशूइंग सब लेजिस्लेशन अंडर दैट लॉ, क्योंकि आई एम श्योर अब आपको सारों को इस गवर्नमेंट के होते हुए ऑर्डिनेंसेस और एक्ट्स के बारे में बड़ा क्लियर डिफरेंस पता चल गया हुआ होगा, और ये भी कि हमारे जो अपर एंड लोअर हाउस की डिवाइड है उसमें अगर हम कोशिश करते हैं तो जिस लॉ में तो गवर्नमेंट को इंटरेस्ट है वो तो जॉइंट सेशन ऑफ पार्लियामेंट में भी पास हो जाता है, लेकिन अगर किसी में कोई स्ट्रांग लॉबी उसके अगेंस्ट है, फॉर एग्जांपल टोबैको इंडस्ट्री है, तो अगर वो लॉ की अमेंडमेंट आती है और वो किसी हाउस में स्टक हो जाती है तो हम मेन जो इफेक्टिव ऑर्गन है हमारे पास, हम उसी से जो है वो कुछ अरसे के लिए शायद सस्पेंड करनी पड़ जाए हमें एक्टिविटीज सारी. सो इसलिए वी डोंट डेयर टू गेट एन अमेंडमेंट इन द मेन ऑर्डिनेंस, और उसी के साथ साथ हम सब लेजिस्लेशन पे काम चला रहे हैं, बट दे आर स्टिल इफेक्टिव. लेटेस्ट लेजिस्लेशन जो हमने की थी पॉइंट ऑफ सेल के ऊपर एड बैन की, दैट वाज जनवरी 2020. उसमें इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए हमें थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम इसलिए भी हो गया कि मार्च ऑनवर्ड सारा लॉकडाउन हो गया और हमारे जो प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट्स हैं वो उसके ऊपर अब पूरी तरह एक्ट नहीं कर सकी. बट फॉर द लास्ट 3 months ऑलमोस्ट जिन जिन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में हम काम कर रहे हैं, इस्लामाबाद के अलावा 5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट, जैसे मैडम पार्लिमानी सेक्रेटरी साहबा ने भी आपको बताया, तो दीज आर 5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स इन पंजाब, लाहौर, गुजरांवाला, सियालकोट, फैसलाबाद, रावलपिंडी, एंड देन 7 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स ऑफ कराची. तो उनके अंदर जो है अब ये सारी एक्टिविटीज़ जो हैं वहाँ पे चीफ कमिश्नर्स के थ्रू और डिप्टी कमिश्नर्स के थ्रू हमारे टोबैको कंट्रोल सेल्स अब वहाँ पे मौजूद हैं. दे हैव स्टार्टेड इम्प्लीमेंटिंग दीज लॉज अगेन. बात हो रही थी हेल्थ लेवी की, आई एम थैंकफुल टू आसिफ इकबाल साहब, उन्होंने बड़ा अच्छा इसके ऊपर सारा डेलिब्रेट किया. आई एम नॉट एन इकोनॉमिस्ट, मुझे फाइनेंशियल मैटर्स का तो इतना ज़्यादा डिटेल तो नहीं अंदाज़ा, लेकिन as much as I know of the government working, health levy, let me admit, it was a no-go area for the federal government. It was a donors-driven agenda. और वो डोनर्स कि जिनको गवर्नमेंट की वर्किंग का कुछ पता नहीं था, they have wasted our 3 years. मैम ने थोड़ा सा आपसे शेयर किया कि हमें इसमें प्रॉब्लम्स हुई. प्रॉब्लम ये थी कि हेल्थ लेवी बेसिकली इट इज़ अ प्रोविंशियल सब्जेक्ट, फेडरल गवर्नमेंट लेवीज नहीं लगा सकती, लेकिन हमें डोनर्स ने ये प्रेशराइज किया कि नहीं जी आप हेल्थ लेवी अनाउंस कर दें. सारी दुनिया में हेल्थ लेवीज या सिन टैक्स की बड़ी मिसाल फिलीपींस से दी जाती, वो सारे का सारा फेडरल एक्साइज ड्यूटी का पार्ट होता है. इट इज़ नॉट एन इंडिपेंडेंट टैक्स. टोबैको इंडस्ट्री वेट में रही है इस चीज़ की कि आप एक दिन के लिए हेल्थ लेवी जो है उसको लीगलाइज कर दें और हम आपको उसी दिन कोर्ट में घसीट लें और हम सारे टैक्सेस से जान छुड़ा दें. देयर वाज अ नीड, हम अगर इसके ऊपर टैक्स बढ़ाना चाहते हैं, तो एक तो जनरल टैक्स जो है वो इंडस्ट्री इतना स्ट्रांग है कि वो हमें नहीं बढ़ाने देती हर साल। तो हेल्थ लेवी ही अगर लगानी है आपने शुगरी ड्रिंक्स और टोबैको के ऊपर, तो उसके लिए आप एक प्रॉपर लेजिस्लेशन कर रहे हैं। अब जाके चूंकि उस इन्फ्लुएंस से हम थोड़ा सा बाहर आए हैं, तो अब गवर्नमेंट ने जो है वो 3 सीनियर मिनिस्टर्स की एक कमेटी बना दी है कि दे आर डेलिब्रेटिंग ऑन इट, और होना वही है कि गवर्नमेंट को अपने लॉस में अमेंडमेंट करनी पड़ेगी, फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन को अमेंड करना है अगर हमने हेल्थ लेवी लगानी है। फिर अगर हेल्थ लेवी लग भी जाती है, वो जो पैसा इकट्ठा होगा उसको आपने किस मैकेनिज्म के तहत जो है वो हेल्थ के ऊपर खर्च करना है। जो भी फेडरल एक्साइज ड्यूटी आप लेते हैं वो गवर्नमेंट के कॉमन पूल में जाती है। कॉमन पूल से आपको एनएफसी अवार्ड्स के अंदर फेडरल गवर्नमेंट को 43%, आसिफ साहब शायद मुझे करेक्ट कर लें, मे बी एक, तो 43% फेडरल गवर्नमेंट के पास आती है, वो पूरी फेडरल गवर्नमेंट पे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होती है। उसमें से हेल्थ को कितना मिलेगा? और अगर हेल्थ को उसका कुछ परसेंटेज मिल भी जाता है, तो हमारी हेल्थ में इस वक्त एक्सपेंडिचर की प्रायोरिटीज क्या है? एट द टाइम व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट द हेल्थ लेवी, उस वक्त तो कोविड नहीं था, तो हमें तो डिफाइन ही नहीं था कि हमने हेल्थ में किस चीज़ को प्रायोरिटाइज करना है। चलें, अब कुदरत की तरफ से जो भी हम पे आई थी, अल्लाह शुक्र है अल्लाह का कि हमने बड़ा एमिकेबली उसको दुनिया के मुकाबले में जो है वो बेहतर पैरामीटर्स के साथ उसको किया है फेस, एंड और अभी भी तक अच्छे रिजल्ट सारी दुनिया के मुकाबले में हैं, मोर्टेलिटी रेट्स के हिसाब से और जो भी था। बट स्टिल टॉकिंग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स, जो कि फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन हमारे गवर्नमेंट के, इसमें हमारे लिए लेसन यही है कि हमें अपनी प्रायोरिटीज को देखना है, अपने वर्किंग को देखना है। हमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो है अंग्रेजी नहीं पढ़नी इसलिए कि हम अंग्रेज नहीं हैं। मैं बड़ी सिंपल सी बात सबसे करता हूँ इस टॉपिक से। जो चीज़ें आज अमेरिका में हमें बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं, आज हमें जिनीवा में बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं, हमें पढ़ाई जाती हैं, हमें दिखाई जाती हैं, वो पाकिस्तान में इम्प्लीमेंट ऑन ग्राउंड नहीं होती, बिकॉज वी आर नॉट पार्ट ऑफ दैट सिस्टम। हमारा अपना सिस्टम है, हमारे अपने अच्छे पॉइंट्स भी हैं, बुरे पॉइंट्स भी हैं। आई एम नॉट अ पॉलिटिशियन, मैं डिटेल से बात नहीं करूंगा, लेकिन द थिंग इज कि जो हमारे अपने गवर्नमेंट के डिसिप्लिन हैं, जो हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, जो हमारे रूल्स रेगुलेशंस हैं, जो लोग इनको नहीं समझते, वो हम पे ये चीज़ें इम्प्लीमेंट करने की कोशिश क्यों करते हैं? सो बेसिकली ये 3 साल पहले अगर ऐसी बात होती कि टैक्स बढ़ाने का कोई अल्टरनेट जरिया आपने रखा होता, देयर वाज अ प्रोविजन, और हमने उसको एक्सप्लॉइट किया। टोबैको वेंडर्स के ऊपर लाइसेंसिंग जो है वो हमने शुरू कराई 2015 में। सॉरी, मैं 1938 में अंग्रेज ने एक कानून बनाया कि हमारे बड़े सगीर के नॉर्थ वेस्ट में जहाँ पे तंबाकू काश्त होता है, इसके बेचने वाले को जुर्माना देना होगा। तंबाकू की काश्त अंग्रेज ने खुद शुरू कराई उस एरिया में जिसको वो लड़के फतह नहीं कर सका। उसने उन लोगों को नशे पे लगाया, और फिर कुछ सालों के बाद, अच्छा आपने तो नशा शुरू कर दिया है, जुर्माना दो इसको। दिस इज अ लॉ ऑफ 1938 टोबैको वेंड एक्ट। प्रीएम्बल का पहला जुमला स्टार्ट यहां से होता है, इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ पब्लिक हेल्थ। गोरे को 1938 में पता था कि ये पब्लिक हेल्थ डैमेज करने वाली चीज। स्टिल पाकिस्तान बना 1958 में, वेस्ट पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट ने टोबैको वेंडर एक्ट इशू किया। मकसद सिर्फ पैसे कमाना था कि चलें थोड़े बहुत पैसे हमें से रेवेन्यू आ जाएगा। किसी ने उसकी स्पिरिट को या उसको मजीद एक्सप्लोर करने की कोशिश नहीं की। कुछ अरसे के बाद वो फेड हो गया। इस्लामाबाद जब बना, इस्लामाबाद की डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को कोई आइडिया नहीं था कि ऐसा कोई कानून भी हमारा है इस रीजन में। 2015 में हमने डिस्ट्रिक्ट गवर्नमेंट इस्लामाबाद को रिक्वेस्ट की कि आप इस्लामाबाद के अंदर टोबैको वेंडर्स एक्ट जो है इसको इन्फोर्स करें। और इन्फोर्समेंट की جو ہے ہم نے فیس یہ رکھا کہ ہم ٹوبیکو وینڈرز کو لائسنسنگ شروع کریں. 3,000 روپیہ سال کی ہم نے فیس رکھی. ایکسائز آفس سے لائسنس ایشو ہونا شروع ہوئے, اور لائسنس لینے جو بھی آیا اس کو ہم نے پہلی شرط یہ رکھی کہ آپ کو ہم ایک یہ ایفیڈیوٹ دے رہے ہیں, یہ انڈر ٹیکنگ ہے, یہ آپ ہمیں سائن کر کے دیں گے. So that undertaking states, I'll not sell cigarettes to under 18. I will not sell open or loose cigarettes. I will not advertise tobacco products. I will not sell illegal tobacco. I will not sell it near the educational institutes. Because our tobacco control laws, section 9, it says that within the institutes or 50 yards outside that educational institute, there should be no tobacco selling point. So ultimately, the thing was that the tobacco vendor had to undertake that I will abide all the country's laws on tobacco control. This thing has brought so many added advantages on tobacco control dynamics that at the moment 6 countries of the world are following it. And if my colleague is online from India, Karnataka is the latest state of India which has also gone through it for it, and most of it is now focused on getting rid of tobacco sale points near the educational institutes, even in USA. 6 states of USA are now working on it, and they have been able to get reduction in the tobacco sale points near the educational institutes. Our figures are far ahead of them because we started early. So वो भी अब ज़ाहिर है इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स तो टोबैको पे आ गया. फ़ायदा हमें उसका ये भी हुआ कि विद इन इस्लामाबाद छोटी मार्केट्स के अंदर किसी की अगर सेल कम थी तो उन्होंने छोड़ दिया सिगरेट बेचना, क्योंकि ज़ाहिर you have to go to the excise office and then you have to stand in line and then you have to pay 3,000 rupees, and then above all you have to undertake that I will not do these things which are illegal. So you are yourself putting in danger, rather you can say कि अगर आप check हो जाते हैं तो आप पे जुर्माना ज़्यादा हो. So many things have been there, or this was also one of the things कि जो इस वक्त through tobacco vendors licensing हमें tobacco control की dynamics पे इतना बड़ा check ये मिल गया है कि इस वक्त बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो हैं हमारी इसके इर्द फोकस कर रही. But still we have not lost the main focus के जो हमारी बाकी एक्टिविटीज़ हैं, और उसमें यस मैडम पार्लिमानी सेक्रेटरी साहबा ने भी आपसे शेयर किया था, सजेशन क्लिनिक्स की बात हम करते हैं. एम्पावर जो WHO की स्ट्रेटजी है, 6 पैक है जो टोबैको कंट्रोल स्ट्रेटजीज का, उसका O जो है, इट स्टैंड्स फॉर ऑफरिंग हेल्प टू क्विट टोबैको. उसमें हमारी टोबैको सजेशन क्लिनिक्स गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में शुरू की थी, अब प्राइवेट सेक्टर में भी बहुत सारी आ गई. इसके अलावा जो है इसके जो लेजिस्लेशंस अभी हैं हमें नोवल प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए, वो अभी इन्फोर्स होती हैं. बट मेजर थिंग, हमने टोबैको कंट्रोल को मसला कश्मीर क्यों बनाया है? Why we are doing piecemeal activities? Why we do not have a concrete national tobacco control policy till yet? WHO का FCTC पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट ने भी रेटिफाई कर लिया 2004 में. आर्टिकल 5.3 most of the time आप सुनेंगे जी, most of the our non-state actors they want to talk about the tobacco industry interference. इंडेक्स के ऊपर जो है वो आपको बेताशा बुक्स मिल जाएंगी, स्टडीज मिल जाएंगी. टोबैको इंडस्ट्री इंटरफेरेंस काउंटर करना, दैट इज योर आर्टिकल 5.3 ऑफ FCTC. व्हाई यू फॉरगेट अबाउट आर्टिकल 5.1 which says that every government should have a concrete national tobacco control policy. ये सारी की सारी चीजें जितनी भी हैं हमारी, ये सारी स्ट्रीमलाइन होके एक पॉलिसी के अंडर क्यों नहीं आती? So for the last about 2 years now, we have started working on that. हमारी जो है इस वक्त national level के ऊपर जो है provincial governments के साथ एक talk रह गई है, and hopefully in a couple of months वो सारी consultation complete हो जाती है. तो हमें उम्मीद है कि हम वर्ल्ड नो टोबैको डे 2022 से पहले इस गवर्नमेंट को एक नेशनल कंट्रोल पॉलिसी टोबैको के लिए दे सकेंगे. ये लेकिन स्टिल इतनी बुरे भी हालात नहीं है. Whatever piecemeal activities we have done, this has earned Pakistan World No Tobacco Day Award in 2018 and again in this year. Today, Pakistan is leading the 23 countries in Eastern Mediterranean region of WHO. जो एक हमारा टारगेट है WHO का कि till 2025 we need to reduce the tobacco prevalence in our population by 30%. So our figures, जो last global adult tobacco survey कराया है tobacco WHO ने, उसमें पाकिस्तान is leading these 23 countries. और मेरी आपसे यही रिक्वेस्ट है कि through your research, through whatever sources you can, please help us to maintain that lead. हम इस नेशन को जो कुछ भी है वो सारी चीज़ें इसी तरह ही कर सकते हैं कंसोलिडेट, लेकिन होपफुली अगर हमें एक नेशनल पॉलिसी मिल जाती है तो आने वाले वक्तों के लिए ये सारी चीज़ें जो हैं वो एक दफ़ा स्ट्रीमलाइन हो जाया करेंगी. So as Wasif has also ordered me for the concluding remarks, so I will not waste most of the time now, and I just have to quote Iqbal on it. Allama Iqbal का जो बर्थ प्लेस है, इकबाल हाउस जो है सियालकोट में, इट्स अ स्मोक फ्री जोन. और वहाँ पे एक उनका किताब है प्रिंटेड, नशा पिला के गिराना तो सबको आता है, मजा तो तब है कि गिरतों को थाम ले साकी. जो बादा कश थे पुराने वो उठते जाते, कहीं से आबे बकाए तवाम ले साकी. शब गुजरी हंगामा गुस्तरी में तेरी, सहर करीब है अल्लाह का नाम ले साकी. सो बेसिकली गिरतों को थाम लेने वाला जो काम है, SDPI has a major role in it, and we are very thankful for their support and their wisdom being shared with us. और हमें बहुत सारी अपने policy levels के ऊपर जो है वो चीज़ें shape up करने का मौका मिलता है through their research and their inputs and provision of these forums for us. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Minhaj, for your kind words and explicitly summarizing the whole day, in fact. Dr. Minhaj's introduction include that the curricula taught in John Hopkins School for Public Health includes his statements and his thoughts. I've attended a course on tobacco control, and you were being quoted there for a number of times. So thank you very much, colleagues. I cannot take question and answers because of the short of time. So you are free to go for lunch. Thank you very much for joining us today.